The vast emptiness of space stretched out before the massive fleet of the concordium. Thousands of ships, each a marvel of alien engineering, hung in perfect formation. Their hulls glittered with strange metals unknown to Earth, and their weapons pulsed with energies that could shatter planets. At the center of this armada floated the flagship of the concordium, the Eternal Light. It was a city-sized vessel, home to the leaders of 100 alien races. These were the rulers of the galaxy, beings who had mastered the stars long before humans had learned to make fire. On the bridge of the Eternal Light, High Admiral Krath looked out at the fleet with his 3 eyes. His scaly skin shimmered with pride. "Another glorious day for the concordium," he said to his officers. They all nodded, their tentacles and appendages moving in agreement. But then, a young officer rushed onto the bridge. "High Admiral," he shouted, his voice filled with surprise and a hint of disgust. "We have visitors." Krath turned, his brow ridges rising in curiosity. "Visitors? Out here in the far reaches of our territory?" The officer nodded quickly. "Yes, sir. It's the humans." A hush fell over the bridge. Then, slowly, laughter began to spread. It started as a low chuckle from Krath and grew until the entire room was filled with alien sounds of amusement. "The humans," Krath said between laughs. "Those primitive apes from that backwater planet. What could they possibly want out here?" As if in answer, a small fleet of ships appeared on their scanners. Compared to the massive concordium vessels, these human ships looked like toys. They were sleek and simple, lacking the ornate designs of alien craft. The laughter on the bridge grew louder. Some officers were holding their sides, their alien bodies shaking with mirth. "Look at those tiny things," one officer said. "Are they here to clean our hulls?" Krath raised a hand, and the laughter slowly died down. Despite the humor of the situation, he was curious. "Open a channel," he ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the lead human ship. Standing there was a human female, her face set in a determined expression. She wore a crisp uniform with strange symbols on the shoulders. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Fleet," she said, her voice clear and strong. "We come in peace and seek to join the Concordium Alliance." Krath couldn't help but let out another chuckle. "Join us? My dear Primitive, do you have any idea what you're asking? The Concordium is the pinnacle of galactic civilization. We have member races who have been traveling the stars for millions of years. What could you possibly offer us?" Admiral Chen didn't flinch. "We offer friendship, innovation, and a unique perspective. Humanity has much to learn, but also much to give." The alien officers on the bridge snickered. Krath shook his head, almost feeling pity for these naive creatures. "You are but children playing with toys you don't understand. Run along home, little humans. Come back in a few thousand years when you've grown up a bit." Chen's eyes narrowed. "We expected skepticism, High Admiral. That's why we've come prepared to prove our worth. We challenge you to a test of our capabilities." This caught Krath off guard. He leaned forward, suddenly intrigued. "A challenge? You dare to challenge the Concordium?" "We do," Chen replied firmly. "Set us a task, any task. If we fail, we'll leave and not bother you again. But if we succeed, you must consider our application for membership." The bridge erupted in laughter once more. Krath raised his hand again, silencing them. A sly smile spread across his alien features. "Very well, human. You've amused us enough to earn a chance. We shall set you a task, one that will show you just how far beyond you we truly are." He leaned back in his command chair, feeling very pleased with himself. "Prepare the Outpost Sigma simulation," he ordered his officers. Then he turned back to the screen. "Admiral Chen, we accept your challenge. Prepare your tiny fleet. Soon, you'll learn the true meaning of galactic power." As the transmission ended, Krath couldn't help but feel a twinge of excitement. It had been a long time since anything unexpected had happened in the Concordium. These humans, foolish as they were, had brought a spark of interest to his day. Little did he know, that spark was about to ignite a fire that would change the galaxy forever. The human fleet hung in space, dwarfed by the massive concordium ships. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Earthlight, her eyes fixed on the main screen. Her crew worked silently around her, each person feeling the weight of what was to come. Admiral, her second in command, Commander Jackson, spoke up. The concordium is hailing us. Chen nodded. Put them through. The screen flickered to life, showing High Admiral Krath's alien face. His 3 eyes blinked in what seemed like amusement. Are you ready for your challenge, humans? He asked, his voice dripping with condescension. We are, Chen replied firmly. What task do you have for us? Krath's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile. It's simple, really. We have a remote outpost, Sigma 9, on the edge of our territory. Your task is to defend it against a simulated attack. Chen's eyebrows rose. Defend an outpost. That's all. The alien admiral chuckled, a sound like grinding rocks. Oh, it's not as easy as it sounds, little human. The attack force will be substantial, far more than your tiny fleet can handle, I assure you. Chen didn't flinch. We accept the challenge. When do we begin? Eager, aren't we? Krath sneered. Very well. You have 24 standard hours to reach Outpost Sigma 9 and prepare your defenses. The attack will commence after that. As the transmission ended, Chen turned to her crew. Their faces showed a mix of determination and worry. All right, people, she said, her voice steady. You heard the alien. We've got a job to do. The human fleet jumped into hyperspace, racing towards Outpost Sigma 9. As they traveled, Chen gathered her top officers for a strategy meeting. This is our chance to prove ourselves, she said, looking at each of them in turn. The concordium thinks we're weak, primitive. Let's show them what humanity can do. Commander Jackson spoke up. Admiral, with all due respect, how can we possibly defend against a force that the concordium considers substantial? We're outnumbered and outgunned. Chen smiled. That's where human ingenuity comes in, Commander. We may not have the biggest ships or the most advanced weapons, but we have something the concordium doesn't expect. Adaptability. She pulled up a holographic display of Outpost Sigma 9. It was a small space station orbiting a barren moon. Here's what we're going to do, Chen began, her eyes gleaming with determination. As the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Sigma 9, they were met with a surprising sight. A group of alien ships was already there, their designs varied and exotic. These were observers from different concordium races, come to watch the humans fail. Look at that pitiful fleet, one alien observer sneered, its words translated through the comm system. They'll be destroyed in minutes. Another alien laughed, a high-pitched sound that hurt human ears. Perhaps seconds. This will be amusing, at least. Chen ignored the taunts, focusing on deploying her ships. To the observer's surprise, the human vessels began to move in strange patterns, taking up positions that seemed random and ineffective. What are they doing? One alien asked, confusion clear in its voice. That's no defense formation I've ever seen. As the hours ticked by, the human fleet continued its bizarre movements. Sometimes ships would cluster together, only to scatter moments later. Other times, they would power down completely, drifting in space, only to surge back to life in unexpected bursts. The alien observers watched with growing unease. This was not how military exercises were supposed to go. There was no logic, no predictability to the human actions. Finally, the 24 hours were up. High Admiral Krath's face appeared on every screen. Time's up, humans, he said, his voice filled with anticipation. Are you ready to face true galactic power? Admiral Chen stood tall on her bridge, her crew tense but ready around her. We're ready, she said simply. Krath's eyes narrowed. Very well. Let the simulation begin. Suddenly, the space around Sigma-9 lit up as hundreds of simulated enemy ships appeared. They were massive, bristling with weapons, each one capable of destroying a human vessel with a single shot. The alien observers leaned forward, eager to see the humans obliterated. But as the simulated attack began, something unexpected happened. The human fleet burst into action, moving with a speed and precision that seemed impossible. Ships darted between enemy fire, weaving complex patterns that confused targeting systems. When the aliens thought they had a human ship cornered, it would suddenly accelerate in an impossible direction, evading destruction. "What's happening?" Zkrath demanded, his voice filled with shock. "How are they doing this?" As the battle raged on, it became clear that this tiny human fleet was far more than it appeared. The challenge had begun, and humanity was about to show the galaxy what it was truly capable of. The space around Outpost Sigma-9 was alive with activity. Human ships darted back and forth, their movements precise and purposeful. On the bridge of the Earthlight, Admiral Sarah Chen watched her fleet's preparations with a mixture of pride and anxiety. "Status report," she called out, her voice steady despite the pressure. Commander Jackson responded quickly. "All ships are in position, Admiral. Defense systems are at 100%. The new AI targeting systems are online and running final checks." Chen nodded, her eyes never leaving the tactical display. "And the special modifications? Complete on all vessels," Jackson confirmed. "The enemy won't know what hit them." As the human fleet made its final preparations, the alien observers watched with growing curiosity and confusion. Their initial mockery had given way to uneasy whispers. "Look at how they move," one alien said, its tentacles waving in agitation. "It's unnatural." Another observer, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline form, pulsed with doubt. "Perhaps we underestimated these humans. Their ships seem different now." On board the Concordium flagship, High Admiral Zkrath paced back and forth. His three eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of stress in his species. "What are they doing?" he muttered. "This isn't how the simulation is supposed to go." One of his officers, a tall, spindly creature, approached cautiously. "High Admiral, perhaps we should increase the difficulty of the simulation to ensure the humans' defeat." Zkrath whirled on the officer, his scales flashing with anger. "No, the parameters were set. We are the concordium. We do not cheat, even against primitives." Back on the Earthlight, Chen gathered her top officers for a final briefing. The room was tense, filled with the weight of what was to come. "This is it," Chen said, her voice low but intense. "Everything we've worked for comes down to the next few hours. The concordium thinks they know what we're capable of. They're wrong." She pulled up a holographic display of their defense plan. It was unlike anything the aliens had ever seen, a constantly shifting, adapting strategy that seemed to defy conventional military wisdom. "Remember," Chen continued, "our strength isn't in our technology or the size of our fleet. It's in here." She tapped her head. "And in here." She placed a hand over her heart. "We're humans. We adapt. We overcome. We survive." The officers nodded, their faces set with determination. As they left to return to their posts, Commander Jackson lingered. "Admiral," he said, his voice low, "do you really think we can win this?" Chen met his gaze steadily. "I think we can surprise them, Jackson. And sometimes, that's all you need to change the game." As the final minutes ticked away, the tension in space could almost be felt. The human ships, small but sleek, faced the vast emptiness where the simulated enemy would soon appear. To the alien observers, it looked like a flock of birds facing down an oncoming storm. On the Concordium flagship, Zkrath gave the final order. "Begin the simulation. Full force." Suddenly, the space around Sigma-9 lit up. Hundreds of simulated enemy ships blinked into existence, their weapons already charging. They were massive, each one dwarfing the largest human vessel. The alien observers leaned forward, certain they were about to witness the quick annihilation of the human fleet. But as the first salvos were fired, something unexpected happened. The human ships moved, not in the clumsy, predictable ways the aliens expected, but with a grace and speed that seemed impossible. Laser blasts and plasma torpedoes that should have vaporized human vessels passed harmlessly through empty space. On the Earthlight's bridge, alarms blared and screens flashed with incoming fire. But Chen stood calm in the center of the storm. "Execute Phase 1, she ordered. Suddenly, the human fleet's formation changed. Ships that had been flying solo paired up, their energy fields merging in ways the concordium had never seen. As the enemy fire intensified, these paired ships seemed to absorb the energy, growing brighter with each hit. "Impossible," Skrath shouted, slamming his fist on his command chair. "How are they doing this?" The alien observers watched in stunned silence as the human fleet not only survived the initial onslaught, but began to push back. Small, agile fighters launched from the larger ships, weaving between enemy fire with impossible precision. As the battle raged on, it became clear that this was no ordinary fight. The tiny human fleet, facing overwhelming odds, was holding its ground, and in the eyes of Admiral Sarah Chen, there was a fire that said this was only the beginning. The challenge had truly begun, and the galaxy was about to learn that when it comes to humans, size isn't everything. The void of space erupted into a dazzling display of light and energy as the battle around Outpost Sigma 9 intensified. The human fleet, vastly outnumbered, moved with a grace and precision that defied all expectations. On the bridge of the Earthlight, Admiral Sarah Chen stood firm, her eyes darting between tactical displays. "Status report," she called out, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Shields holding at 80%, Admiral," Commander Jackson reported. "Enemy fire is intense, but our evasive maneuvers are working." Chen nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "Good. Initiate Phase 2. Suddenly, the human ships began to emit a strange, pulsing energy. The alien observers watched in confusion as this energy seemed to interfere with their sensors. "What's happening?" one alien cried out. "I can't get a clear reading on their ships." On the Concordium flagship, High Admiral Skrath's face twisted in frustration. "Impossible. How are they jamming our advanced sensors?" As the Concordium forces struggled to target the elusive human fleet, Chen's strategy unfolded. Small, agile fighters darted between the massive enemy ships, their weapons finding weak points with uncanny accuracy. "Look at that," an alien observer gasped. "Those tiny ships are damaging our largest cruisers." The battle raged on, and to everyone's surprise, the human fleet was not only surviving but starting to inflict significant damage on the simulated enemy forces. Chen's voice rang out clear and strong. "All ships, execute Maneuver Omega." In perfect synchronization, the human fleet suddenly split apart. Ships that had been flying in tight formation scattered in all directions, confusing the enemy targeting systems even further. On the Concordium flagship, alarms blared as more and more simulated ships reported critical damage. Skrath's three eyes widened in disbelief. "This can't be happening," he muttered. "They're just primitives." Back on the Earthlight, Chen allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. "Phase 3, she ordered. "Bring the Nexus online." Deep within the human flagship, a device unlike anything the Concordium had ever seen hummed to life. It was the culmination of Earth's most advanced technology, a perfect blend of artificial intelligence and human ingenuity. As the Nexus came online, the entire human fleet seemed to move as one. Ships anticipated enemy attacks before they happened, weaving through the barrage of fire with impossible precision. "Admiral," Commander Jackson called out, his voice filled with awe. "The Nexus is working. Our reaction times are off the charts." Chen nodded, her eyes gleaming. "This is what we've been working towards. Show them what humanity can do." The tide of battle began to turn. The once overwhelming concordium forces found themselves on the defensive, struggling to keep up with the lightning-fast reactions and unpredictable strategies of the human fleet. Alien observers watched in stunned silence as ship after ship in their simulated fleet went dark. The humans, those underestimated primitives, were winning. On the concordium flagship, Scrath's composure finally broke. "How?" he roared. "How are they doing this?" One of his officers, voice shaking, replied, "High Admiral, we don't know. Their tactics, their technology. It's unlike anything we've ever seen." As the battle reached its peak, Chen's voice rang out across the human fleet. "This is it, people. Push forward. Show the galaxy what humanity is made of." The human ships surged forward as one, their weapons blazing. The Nexus coordinated their attacks with perfect precision, finding weaknesses in the enemy's defenses that should have been impossible to detect. Explosions lit up the space around Sigma 9 as more and more of the simulated concordium ships fell to the human assault. The aliens watching the battle could hardly believe their eyes. "They're not just surviving," one observer whispered. "They're winning." As the last of the simulated enemy ships flickered and vanished, a stunned silence fell over the battlefield. The small human fleet, battered but unbroken, hung victorious in space. On the bridge of the Earthlight, Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Stand down, Red Alert," she ordered. "All ships, report status." As damage reports began to come in, the true scale of their victory became clear. Against all odds, against an enemy that should have crushed them, humanity had emerged triumphant. Chen turned to face the main view screen, where she knew the shocked faces of the concordium leaders would soon appear. "Now," she said softly, "let's show them what real diplomacy looks like." The battle was over, but the true challenge was just beginning. Humanity had proven its worth in combat. Now, they had to prove they deserved a place among the stars. The space around Outpost Sigma 9 was quiet now. The flashes of weapons fire and explosions had faded, leaving only the soft glow of the human fleet's running lights. On board the Earthlight, Admiral Sarah Chen took a deep breath, allowing herself a moment to appreciate their victory. "Admiral," Commander Jackson said, breaking the silence, "the concordium is hailing us." Chen straightened her uniform. "On screen," she ordered, her voice calm and steady. The main view screen flickered to life, showing the face of High Admiral Zakrath. His three eyes were wide with a mix of shock and disbelief. For a long moment, he said nothing, simply staring at the human commander who had defied all expectations. "How?" Zakrath finally managed to say. "How did you do this?" Chen allowed herself a small smile. "High Admiral, what you've witnessed today is the true strength of humanity. Not our ships, not our weapons, but our spirit and ingenuity." Zakrath's scales rippled, a sign of agitation in his species. "But your technology, it's unlike anything we've seen. Your tactics, they were unpredictable, impossible to counter." "That's because you underestimated us," Chen replied. "You saw our small fleet and assumed we were weak. You didn't consider that we might have advantages you couldn't see." As Chen spoke, the alien observers who had watched the battle began to transmit their recordings across the concordium network. In minutes, the news of the human victory spread throughout the galaxy. On countless worlds, beings of all shapes and sizes gathered around screens, watching in awe as the replays showed the tiny human fleet outmaneuvering and defeating the massive concordium force. Back on the Earthlight, Chen continued her explanation. "Our greatest strength is our adaptability. We don't just use technology, we innovate. We don't just follow tactics, we create new ones on the fly." She gestured to her crew, each member standing tall and proud. "Every person on this ship, every soldier in our fleet, is capable of independent thought and creative problem-solving. That's what you saw today." Zakrath's expression slowly changed from shock to something approaching respect. I see. It seems we have much to learn about your species, Admiral Chen." As the conversation continued, reports began to flood in from across the concordium. Many races, impressed by the humans' performance, were calling for their immediate acceptance into the alliance. "High Admiral," one of Skrath's officers interrupted, his voice urgent. "We're receiving transmissions from the Council. They want to open formal negotiations with the humans immediately." Skrath's eyes widened even further. He turned back to Chen, his voice carrying a new tone of respect. "It seems, Admiral, that you've done more than win a battle today. You've turned the tide of galactic opinion." Chen nodded solemnly. "That was our hope, High Admiral. We came here not just to prove our worth in battle, but to show that humanity has much to offer the concordium. We seek friendship and alliance, not conquest." As the news spread, excitement rippled through the human fleet. They had done it. They had proven themselves to the galaxy. But Chen knew that this was just the beginning. "What happens now?" she asked Skrath. The alien admiral seemed to gather himself. "Now, Admiral Chen, we invite you and your leaders to the concordium capital. The Council wishes to meet with you personally." A cheer went up on the Earthlight's bridge. Chen raised a hand, calming her crew, but couldn't hide the pride in her eyes. "We would be honored, High Admiral," she said. "Let this be the beginning of a new era of cooperation between our peoples." As the transmission ended, Chen turned to her crew. Their faces shone with triumph and hope. "Well done, all of you," she said. "Today, we've opened the door. Tomorrow, we step through it into a larger universe." The human fleet began preparations for their journey to the concordium capital. As they worked, messages of congratulations and welcome poured in from across the galaxy. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and nothing would ever be the same. In the vastness of space, the small fleet of Earth ships began to move, heading towards a future filled with new allies, new challenges, and endless possibilities. The age of human isolation was over. The age of human exploration had begun. The concordium capital planet, Sonora, was a breathtaking sight. Massive structures of crystal and exotic metals reached into the sky, their surfaces reflecting the light of 3 suns. As the human delegation's ship descended through the atmosphere, Admiral Sarah Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. "It's beautiful," Commander Jackson whispered beside her. Chen nodded. "And now we have a chance to be a part of it all." Their ship landed on a massive platform, where a group of diverse alien beings waited to greet them. At the front stood High Admiral Skrath, his scales shimmering in the sunlight. As Chen and her team stepped out, a hush fell over the gathered crowd. Many had never seen a human in person before. Chen straightened her uniform and walked forward, her head held high. "Welcome to Sonora, Admiral Chen," Skrath said, his voice carrying a newfound respect. "The Council is eager to meet you." The human delegation was led through vast halls, each more impressive than the last. Alien technology beyond their wildest dreams surrounded them. Yet, Chen noticed, many of the aliens they passed were looking at the humans with curiosity and even admiration. Finally, they reached the council chambers. The room was circular, with seats for representatives of 100 different species. At the center stood a holographic display, currently showing images of the battle at Outpost Sigma 9. As Chen and her team took their places, the head of the council, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline form, spoke. "Humans of Earth," it said, its voice resonating in their minds. "You have surprised us all. We believed you to be primitive, yet you have demonstrated technology and tactics beyond our understanding." Chen stepped forward. "Esteemed Council," she began, her voice clear and confident. "What you saw was not just technology or tactics. You saw the true strength of humanity, our adaptability, our creativity, and our unwavering spirit." She gestured to the holographic display. "In that battle, each of our ships acted not just as a weapon, but as a thinking, adapting entity. Our crew members aren't just soldiers, they're problem solvers, innovators, and dreamers." The council members murmured among themselves. "One, a reptilian being, spoke up. But how? How can your small, young species possess such abilities? Chen smiled. It's because of our history, our diversity, and our unique way of thinking. On Earth, we faced countless challenges that forced us to adapt and innovate. We've learned to see problems from different angles, to think outside the box. She continued, her passion evident in her voice. Every human carries within them the potential to change, to grow, to see things in new ways. This is our greatest strength, and it's what we offer to the concordium. The energy being at the head of the council pulsed brightly. You speak of qualities we have long forgotten in our pursuit of technological advancement. Perhaps we have much to learn from you. Excitement rippled through the chamber. Many council members nodded in agreement. Zkrath stepped forward. I have seen these humans in action, he said. Their unpredictability, their adaptability. It could revolutionize our approach to everything from science to diplomacy. As the council debated, Chen and her team waited patiently. Finally, after what seemed like hours, the energy being spoke again. Humans of Earth, it said, its voice filled with warmth. We, the Concordium Council, hereby extend an invitation for Earth to join our alliance as full members. Cheers erupted from the human delegation. Shen felt a wave of pride and relief wash over her. They had done it. Humanity had secured its place among the stars. But the energy being wasn't finished. Furthermore, it continued, we wish to create a new position within the Concordium. A Department of Innovation and Adaptability, to be led by humans. Chen's eyes widened in surprise. This was more than they had ever hoped for. Admiral Chen, Zkrath said, turning to her, we would be honored if you would lead this new department. Your experience and insight would be invaluable. As Chen stepped forward to accept, she realized that this was just the beginning. Humanity had not just found its place in the galaxy. They had opened up a new frontier of possibility for all species. The age of human innovation in the Concordium had begun, and with it, the entire galaxy was about to change in ways no one could have predicted. 5 years had passed since humanity joined the Concordium. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Admiral Sarah Chen, now director of the Concordium's Department of Innovation and Adaptability, stood at the window of her office on Sonora, looking out at the bustling capital. A soft chime announced the arrival of her old friend, Commander Jackson. Director Chen, he said with a smile, the latest reports are in. Chen turned, her eyes bright with excitement. Let's hear it, Jackson. Jackson activated a holographic display. The human-inspired terraforming project on Zeta 9 is a complete success. A planet once thought uninhabitable is now thriving with life. Chen nodded, pride swelling in her chest. This was just one of many projects her department had spearheaded, combining human ingenuity with alien technology. There's more, Jackson continued. The trade routes we redesigned using Earth's historical Silk Road as a model have increased efficiency by 200%, and the conflict resolution techniques based on human diplomatic history have resolved 3 long-standing alien wars. Chen smiled. It seems our primitive ways have some use after all. Just then, the door slid open, revealing High Admiral Zkrath. The alien's scales shimmered with excitement. Director Chen, he said, you won't believe what's happening. He activated a large screen, showing scenes from across the galaxy. Humans and aliens worked side by side, solving problems, creating new technologies, and exploring the unknown. Your people, Zkrath said, his voice filled with awe. They're everywhere, changing everything. It's like a renaissance across the stars. Chen watched the scenes with a mix of pride and humility. We're just doing what humans have always done, Zkrath. Adapting, innovating, pushing boundaries. Zkrath shook his head. It's more than that. You've woken us up, Sarah. For millennia, the Concordium grew complacent. We thought we had all the answers. But you humans, You showed us how much more there is to discover. The screen showed more images, a human scientist working with energy beings to develop new forms of faster-than-light travel. Human artists collaborating with alien races to create entirely new art forms. Human chefs introducing alien cultures to the joys of pizza and sushi. It's not just science and technology, Jackson noted. Human culture is spreading too. There are alien rock bands now. Chen laughed. I heard about that. Apparently, our music is viscerally stimulating to many species. Scrath's three eyes blinked in rapid succession, his species equivalent of a chuckle. Indeed, I must admit, I've become quite fond of something called jazz. As they watched the screens, a breaking news alert flashed. The head of the Concordium Council appeared, its energy form pulsing with excitement. Citizens of the Concordium, it announced, today marks a historic moment. Inspired by the human concept of space exploration, we are launching the Concordium's first intergalactic expedition. Chen, Jackson, and Zucrath looked at each other in shock. Intergalactic travel had always been thought impossible. The expedition, the Council had continued, will be led by a joint team of human and alien explorers. Together, we will push the boundaries of known space and discover what lies beyond our galaxy. As the announcement ended, the office erupted in cheers. Chen felt a wave of emotion wash over her. This was beyond anything she had ever dreamed. Well, Zucrath said, turning to Chen, it seems your tiny fleet has led us to the biggest adventure of all. Chen nodded, her eyes misting slightly. That's humanity for you, Zucrath. We're never content with the status quo. There's always another horizon to reach, another mystery to solve. As they looked out at the capital, now buzzing with the news of the intergalactic expedition, Chen realized that this was just the beginning. Humanity had not just found its place in the galaxy. They had reshaped it, inspired it, pushed it forward. The future stretched out before them, filled with endless possibilities. And at the forefront of it all was the spirit of human innovation, the drive to explore, to question, to dream. In the vast expanse of the universe, humanity had found not just a new home, but a new purpose. They were no longer the newcomers, the underdogs. They were the catalysts of a new age of discovery and cooperation. As Chen looked at her friends, human and alien alike, she smiled. Well, she said, shall we see what's out there? Together, they turned towards the stars, ready for whatever adventures awaited them in the great unknown.